I'm excited. I met my beautiful wife 20 years ago, and 18 years ago, I was able to camouflage my crazy and get her to say yes. And so we're just having a great time. She stuck with me. Man, you start saying 2 decades. It makes you sound old, don't it? Don't look at me like I'm old. That's because it sounds old doesn't mean I'm old. Sean is like, yeah, you old, Pastor. You know. I'm excited about today. I can't say I'm excited because it's going to be easy, because it's not. I said on Wednesday's call, Matt was texting me like, hey, Pastor, where were you 13 years ago to tell me this? I'm like, you act like I knew this 13 years ago. I just don't think we do a good job of teaching people how to be married. We were talking about it on Wednesday. We were talking about it driving home as a family on Sunday. That so many of this pre-marriage stuff, even Jonathan and I have talked about it offline, online, any kind of line. It's pre-marriage counseling has become just a checkbox for ministry so they can say, if everything goes wrong, it's not my fault. I don't think people do a good job in all of Christendom, which is not really a kingdom. It's just all in church. I just don't think we do a good job. I know that Jonathan was talking about, if you do it right, it'll take 6 to 12 months. People are like, I don't got 6 to 12 months. What can you do in like 60 minutes, man? I'm trying to get married. And so what we do is we tell people they need to be together because that's God's plan, and then we don't tell them God's plan how to stay together. But I think God must love weddings. I mean, consider this. And Jesus performed his first miracle, turning water into wine in a wedding. At the beginning of history, the first man wed to the first woman when God presented Eve, to Adam. And at the end of history, there's going to be this great wedding feast of the Lamb when Christ and his bride, the church, are joined together. It seems like God's got a thing for weddings. It's like in the beginning, in the end. So if God has a thing for weddings, just imagine how he feels towards marriage. If it seems like God is doing all kind of cool stuff during weddings and that's important to him, I think we need to spend some time. So I'm not going to take a text today. Pastor, that's sacrilege. That's fine. There's other churches that will take a text and bore you for 40 minutes. How about I don't take a text and see if I can help you for about 30? Is that all right? See, I'm giving you hope already. You think I'm going to do 30. That is, I did not promise. I said, all right, what do you say I like this. I like that people can't stand because they're just all the way to the side. Let's just pray. Kids, I know you think that this doesn't apply to you, and it probably doesn't. I'm just hoping that someday, one day, you'll remember this. And if you are a father of a daughter when you're like 90 years old and you're about ready to get married. It's all the men that have daughters, like you can get married when you're in triple digits, girl. So let's just pray and let's just ask God to talk to us. We're going to talk about some heavy stuff. And if you think I'm talking to you, I am. If you're wondering, are you talking to me, Pastor? Absolutely. Do you know what's going on in my life? No, but I imagine you're human, you have a heartbeat, and you're here, so I'd imagine some of this stuff will apply to you. So please don't take offense, big boy pants, big girl skirts, or whatever y'all do, but we got to be adults. Is that all right? So please don't be offended. You can be offended next week, but don't be offended now, because I'm trying to help. Jesus, we love you. God, we're thankful for what you're doing in our church. We're thankful for what you're doing in our families. We're thankful for what you're doing in our marriages. God, help us. Help us, God, not to be fake and plastic and phony and come in here with all of our problems all camouflaged and acting like everything is perfect and go home and our world is completely upside down. God, help us. Help us to be men and women of integrity, honest enough and adult enough to admit when we're wrong and when we need some help. God, help us today to realize that if we were in love enough to say I do, we should be in love enough to say I'll stay. God, help us to invest not only in our spouse, to invest in ourselves to be the very best spouse that we can be. God, help me say a bunch in a little bit of time. Help me to say something that somebody can take away from this place. It'll be more than just 3 points in a poem, but it'll be something they could take and work on and have healthy relationships. Jesus, we ask all this in your precious name. Amen. Well, if you're standing, you may be seated. If you're seated, remain so. Whether you've been married for months, for years, or decades, the learning process never ends. It's true in most things in life, and It's true in marriage. You and your spouse are constantly learning about each other's evolving personalities. I would be naive to think that I am the same person that chased Nora through the park in Guatemala. I'm not. I've changed. I got more gray hair. I got two types of hair, gray and falling out. That's the two I got. And so I'm older, but my personality has evolved, and so has hers. So we're always learning about our spouse, the things that irk us, and how to continue our lives best together. When the two of you tied the knot and vowed to be there for each other in sickness and health, for better, for worse, you all meant that. But let's be honest in church. How novel an idea to be actually honest in the house of God. Sometimes it can be tricky to do all that day after day until death do you part. The moment you and your spouse said, I do, you began your new journey together. You combine lives and interests, passions and dreams of two people to create this family and life together that isn't always easy feat. And even for the most loving spouses, and a little wisdom and guidance never hurt anybody. That's why at C3 every February, we slow it down and focus on marriages, focusing to have strong marriages. And we've preached some crazy series. I got to keep your attention, because if you know it's coming, you might not even show up for February. But we got to have strong families. It's not enough just to have strong relationship with God. It's funny. This is me being pastor for a minute. It's funny. It's like we talked about on Wednesday. How many of y'all have the most fights on Sunday when you come to church? But y'all just coming to church. You're not preaching. You're not playing any instruments. You're just driving to a building. So, please pray for ministry. Please. Nora and I fight. No, we're past the fighting part. I mean, I don't know. We don't fight. We don't yell. We don't do all that stuff. But if you know it's coming, like if I know every Sunday morning you're going to knock on my door and punch me in the face, I should be ready for you next Sunday. How many Sundays do I have to have a bloody nose before I realize that the knocking on my door might be a fight? Why do we, all of a sudden we're surprised? And how come we don't know how to manage time on Sunday? How can you get to work Monday through Friday on time, but Sunday you can't seem to find your shoes? It's just, we got to plan a little better. We know the fight is coming. And so we have to realize that when the fight comes, and usually it's between our spouses, if you're going to fight correctly. See, the four horsemen of marriage is the metaphor depicting the end times of the book of Revelation. We know the book of Revelation in the New Testament. We talked about last week that there's conquest, which is the white horse, and in wars, which is the red horse, and famine, the green horse, and death, well, of course, that's the pale horse. And we talked about that all this is based off of John Gottman's research, Dr. John Gottman's research, and he used this metaphor to describe communication styles that are similarly predict the end of relationship. Just for those that weren't here last week, we'll catch you up. What are the four horsemen of the apocalypse in marriage? Over 40 years of research has shown this pattern, these four interactions in relationship, this criticism, defensiveness, the silent treatment. I know we call it stonewalling, and I think that's cute, and thank you, Dr. Gottman, but everybody thinks that stonewalling is something I don't do, but you do the silent treatment. So let's just call it what it is. The silent treatment. And then contempt. So the third horseman, this one is going to hurt. So last week we had 6 responses. Do you remember the 6 are for an extra candy bar that's floating around here? We have amen, ouch, ooh, that's right, and was it oh yeah, something, or come on. Yes, so you can add to that if you don't know it, but you have to say something. So this third horseman is going to hurt. This stonewalling, the silent treatment, the listener withdraws from the interaction while staying in the room. There's an effort not to give a clue that he or she is even listening. And you'll see this type of nonverbal behavior, this looking to the side, this not maintaining eye contact, the crossing of one's arms. And people often give the silent treatment because they become overwhelmed, what Dr. Gottman was calling flooded. So you're flooded when you're in an argument, or we call it loud, or conversation with volume, however you want to call it if you're a Christian. Your heartbeat races, you stop thinking clearly, and you get highly agitated. So these would be the telltale signs, but silent treatment is ineffective. It's an attempt to calm yourself down. Now listen, if every word that's going through your mind you shouldn't say as a Christian, then please shut your mouth. But the silent treatment is like, oh, I'm going to calm myself down, but it doesn't really happen, because what happens during this silent treatment is stonewalling. Here's what happens. The person that is actually given the silent treatment is thinking negative thoughts over and over in their mind. It's you're not saying anything with your mouth, but you are yelling in your thoughts. You are reliving and you are perfecting your argument. So when you open your mouth, you will not only win, but you will destroy. Thank you. Thank you. I'm just waiting for I didn't know what was going to happen. So just time people to start shaking. And so you're going to tell them about a thing or two, but you're going to relive it, and you're going to think what they're going to say, so you have the best counter. So you're not helping yourself. You're not cooling yourself down. You are fueling the flame. You're thinking, I can't believe she said it. I can't believe he said that. How could she be so insensitive? That's so unfair. And it's over and over in your mind, because as you're giving the silent treatment, your brain and your emotions and everything going through your mind is screaming. And the person who is on the receiving end of the silent treatment finds it so upsetting that they're ignored that they'll often attempt to re-engage, to counter-criticize their partner by escalating the conflict. In other words, they fight harder or louder or both. So while you are having your internal dialogue, we'll call it, you're cussing him out in your mind. I can't believe you said that, Pastor. I didn't say that. You said that. I don't know what you're thinking. So while you're doing that, the person receiving the silent treatment is doing everything they can to get you to talk. And so if you don't talk, they'll escalate and they'll turn up and they'll begin to attack. And so that doesn't work either. So you think you're calming down and you're not. You're thinking you're giving the person that you're talking to a chance to cool down, and they're not. It doesn't work. So what is the problem with the silent treatment? In general, the silent treatment is a manipulation tactic. Now, I know that the research says that 85% of men use a silent treatment. And someone said, what's the percentage of women? I don't know, but I bet you it's higher than 15. So let's just be honest. You can say whatever you want to say, but the silent treatment, if it is longer than like an hour, it's a manipulation tactic that can leave important issues in a relationship unresolved. It can leave the partner on the receiving end feeling worthless, unloved, hurt, confused, frustrated, angry, and completely unimportant. When one or both partners sulk or pout or refuse to talk, they are exerting a cruel type of power in the relationship that not only shouts out to their partner, but also communicates that they don't care enough to even try to communicate or collaborate. The problem with the silent treatment is that in shutting down communication, it shuts down the potential to make things right. Silent treatment is tremendously damaging to a relationship. It decreases relationship satisfaction for both partners. It diminishes feelings of intimacy and reduces the capacity to communicate in a way that's healthy or meaningful. See, you've seen too many movies. I'll just be the bigger man and walk away with your pouting self. You ain't walking away. See, in the movies, the man doesn't say anything and walks away, and they cut to another scene. There isn't another scene in your life, Bubba. You're on the couch pouting. Okay. And it's like, and the other scene, when he comes back, now they're talking. Oh, the silent treatment must work. No, get off of Netflix and get into life. It don't work that way. So when is silence abuse? Huh? Oh. See, sometimes remaining silent can be positive, especially if it keeps people from saying things they might regret later. But other times, silence is an unhealthy reaction to something upsetting. But with time, the silence subsides and the couple's able to work out some sort of resolution. But sometimes, though, silence evolves into a pattern of silent treatment and becomes a pattern of destructive behavior. And when it happens, it becomes a control tactic and is emotionally abusive. So I asked it in the first service, I ask it again. Men, raise your hand if you'll never hit your wife or your woman. Thank you. Thank you. Just wait, it's coming. You fell into that. The silent treatment is an act of ignoring someone or refusing to acknowledge their presence. It's a way of inflicting pain on a person without creating any evident bruises on their body. So the silent treatment, listen, I'm not even gonna act like I know where this part of the brain is, but the silent treatment activates the anterior cingulate cortex. If you can find it, good for you. The part of the brain that detects physical pain. So basically, people who get the silent treatment are causing real pain to the victims without touching them, causing inner wounds. So guys, if you do silent treatment to your woman for days, you never punched her in the face, but you slap her in the mouth every time with your silent treatment. You are beating her without bruises. As one male amen. I wasn't thinking I was going to get any masculine amens. That's not true. People who use the silent treatment, yes it is. If people use the silent treatment to gain power or exert control, relationship will do some of these things. Let's see if you recognize any of them. All right, hold on real quick with me. Breathe. It's going to be all right. We'll get through this. They use the silent treatment to put you in your place. Give you the cold shoulder for days or weeks at a time. Refuse to talk, make eye contact, answer calls, or respond to texts. Fall back on silent treatment when things don't go their way. Use it as a way to avoid taking responsibility for bad behavior. Punish you with silent treatment when you upset them. Require you to apologize or to give in to the demands just so they'll talk to you. Refuse to acknowledge you until you've groveled and pleaded. Use as a primary means of dealing with conflict. Does any of that sound familiar? Man, hey, hi baby, can you hear me? Is this on? Because the big people act like they can't hear anything I'm saying. Okay, thank you. When the person using silent treatment takes away the ability to communicate and collaborate with one another, the person on the receiving end will go to great lengths to restore the verbal aspect of the relationship. This allows the silent person, take the higher road person, to feel vindicated, powerful, and in control, while the person on the receiving end feels confused and maybe even afraid of losing the relationship. Wait, there's more. The silent person has successfully flipped the situation. Now the conversation is about appeasing them, not resolving the issue at hand. Ooh, that is the couple's version of the crossover. It's like, wait a minute, we're going that way, we're going this way. Now it's no longer about the issue. Now it's about, hey, if you want me to talk to you, come and grovel and plead and apologize for something you didn't even do. Thank you. I'm just preaching to the side of the room that's helping. Come on, this side. So, here, the real issue is often lost in the struggle to regain equilibrium in communication relationship while the issues remain unresolved. And when this pattern of behavior happens on a regular basis, it's both toxic and abusive. So, silent treatment, look. If you're feeling flooded, as Dr. Gottman wants to say, if you're feeling overwhelmed, like, look, what you're saying to me, my blood pressure's rising, I'm seeing red, and I'm not going to say anything spiritual, call a timeout. Say, you know what, look, this is important, but right now, I am not in a position to talk. Give me 20 minutes, 30 minutes. You do not need 4 days. You do not need to sleep on it. You spend more money on junk you don't sleep on. Why you need to sleep on having a conversation? You're not buying 7 Bugattis, all right? It's a conversation. You don't need to sleep on it. Walk away 20, 30 minutes. Go to gym. Walk around the whatever. Go buy something on Amazon, whatever calms you down. I'm going shopping. 20, 30 minutes, circle back around. I'm a next steps guy. If you don't give me next steps, I will push you for a next step. Oh, hey, that's great. We need to get together. When? Oh, well, you know, later. Like when later? Like, hey, I'll pencil you in. I hated that when I was evangelist. Well, have you come preach? When? I don't know, doc. I'm not a doctor, but when do you want me to preach for you? Don't just one day, someday. That's cute. That's cute in fairy tales. That don't pay the bills. So next steps. So if you can't have a conversation right now, hey, give me 20 minutes, give me 30 minutes. I'll tell you what, hey, let's talk about this in an hour. We'll both calm down and let's fix it. Have next steps. The antidote to this crazy silent treatment is not to never have it, but it's to self-soothe and re-engage. So whatever you need to do to calm down. You know, we talk about this, some people in Spanish service, we're talking about they listen to music. So if you listen to music, calm down. Whatever it is, you need to calm down. So look, talk to the person that you live with, that you're having this conflict with. Say, look, this is important, and we do need to talk about it. I'm just not in the right mind, my headspace, whatever you want to call it. I don't like that because they named the app that. But I'm just not ready for it right now. I just need a few minutes, 30 minutes. We'll circle back around. Do that. So, what is stonewalling? Withdrawing from the interaction, shutting down or checking out, habitually acting busy, and engaging in obsessive behaviors to numb and avoid tension. So how do you deal with that? Just tell the person, look, I'm feeling flooded, overwhelmed. Let's take a break. We'll continue this conversation when we calm down. So let them know the topic is really important and I want to be present, but I'm feeling overwhelmed. Having important interactions when you're feeling overloaded is a lose-lose situation. You need to calm down first. Have you ever been in a tragic situation? Has anybody ever been hurt around you where they start bleeding all over the place? Like, no, Pastor, what do you do on your off time? So we talked about that one night that they decided at work at the end of the year party, December 20th, that they were going to do all this. We had we'll call it 150 guys, and they were just going to do all these piñatas before all the guys go back to Mexico. Well, somebody had an idea that a metal pole would be better because if other pole, like a piece of wood breaks, it'll flip and hit somebody. So let's use a metal pole. That was my idea. I was not expecting grown men to act like little bitty people. When the piñata went, poof, all the grown people went, poof. Well, the guy blindfolded was still swinging. Oh, he even knows his name, yeah. So Sergio took one to the cranium, boom. So Sergio is bleeding like a stuck pig all over the place. And so I'm trying to stop the bleeding on Sergio. And we get him to the hospital. He was fine. He's fine. His head bleeds a lot. That's all. Just opened up right here. But you would be surprised when tragedy happens, 60 people that I've trained in CPR and first aid were standing there looking at me like this. What do I do? It probably stopped the guy that's bleeding all over the place from bleeding all over the place. Why? Because when tragic stuff happens that people aren't used to, they freeze. That what happened? They're good at their job, but they were flooded emotionally. That's what happens when you argue with your spouse. You know what you should do, but you are flooded, so you just, and then everything you say can and will be used against you. Because it's all coming out wrong. So we did stop Sergio's bleeding. We did get Sergio to the hospital, and we did get him stapled up, thank God. So it's fine. It's fine. No more piñatas. But when people are not used to dealing with a situation out of the norm, people freeze even though they should know what to do. At 45 years old, I should be able to have a conversation with my wife and vice versa. But sometimes we get flooded. And so the best thing to do is, hey, just everybody go to your corner. That's all you gotta do. Okay, so listen. If you use just because you use the silent treatment once or twice, 3, 4 times, it's not the end of the world. Don't let that be your go-to. And do not use it to manipulate because you are causing emotional wounds. It hurts it feels the same way as if you were punched. Have anybody walked around you and act like you did not exist? They act like you don't exist. They don't talk. You don't do nothing. All of a sudden, they ghost you, but you are this far from them. It hurts. It's the same pain. Your brain doesn't realize that's not physical, but it feels like it. That's what you're doing. So if you say you love them, why would you inflict that kind of pain? Yes. So you can deal with criticism. You can have criticism. You should be complaining. You can have defensiveness, although you should be owning it. And you can have silent treatment, even though what you should be doing is disengaging and re-engaging. So those 3 things, you can have a healthy relationship or a marriage with those 3 things, but you cannot have a healthy marriage with horseman number 4. It's a dirty dog. Well, a dirty horse, I guess. Contempt. Contempt is really something to eliminate altogether the relationship. It includes things like threats and name calling, eye rolling and insulting. See, threats are terrible because it's a pattern of emotional abuse and they're never helpful. It's nothing but destructive to love. So being contemptuous is to put someone down, to take a higher plane or a higher moral ground. It's basically saying, I'm smarter, I'm better, I'm kinder than you are. Sometimes couples will mock each other. Sometimes they'll even correct each other's grammar. Now, that doesn't apply to me because I speak 2 languages, so I ask people to correct my grammar all the time. But if you are a single language household, and every time you have a serious conversation with your spouse, you feel the need to become an English teacher, you might have a contempt problem. The message is basically, I'm superior to you, you're beneath me, you're just basically an idiot. That's what you're saying. It's a toxic mindset. There's an underlying mindset, a negative habit of mind in a contemptuous person. The contemptuous person often scans the environment looking for negative things in their spouse. They refuse to find anything positive. They scan everything looking, but they can't enjoy or appreciate anything about their spouse. Contempt is also physically damaging to the receiver. See, contempt can be shown non-verbally with eye rolls or that unilateral lifting of the lip, like, you know, the faces. You know the faces. Y'all know them faces. So listen, I can fight criticism by myself. What do I got to do? I got to learn to complain. And this is a test. Y'all are not doing too great. I can fight defensiveness. All I got to do is own it. Yeah. Own what I can. That's right. Yeah. I can fight. What's the next one? Silent treatment. What do I got to do? And re-engage. Right. Absolutely. But I can't fight contempt on my own. You have to fight contempt together. It's the most destructive of the 4 horsemen. And to fight contempt, couples have to work hard to create a culture of appreciation. But more immediately, to talk about yourself and not your partner. Both of you may be feeling very underappreciated in this relationship. This is tough right here, but attacking your spouse isn't the way to enhance their appreciation of your finer qualities, okay? It changes around the long-term goal is to actively change one's mindset. But the immediate antidote is to talk from your own perspective. So how can I fix this? If you can say what you're saying by pointing your finger, you are speaking in contempt. Whatever you say, if you can point a finger while you say it, you're saying it wrong. You are being critical or contemptuous. Talk instead about yourself, your feelings, your desires, your frustrations. So instead of saying, like I just use Nora and I as an example because y'all get mad when I use y'all. So if Nora and I are saying something, if Nora can say, you know what, you are just so rude, you could care nothing about my feelings. So she said you, didn't she? Yeah, so that's fighting words, right? You, and then if it's always or never, those are fighting words. But if she says, you know what, the way I feel is this. Oh, so now I'm getting to see it from her perspective because she's talking about herself. She's not attacking me. Or if she says, you know what, some of the things that frustrate me are, instead of you always frustrate me when. You're basically saying the same thing, but you're taking out the venom. See, but that's how so talk about yourself. The antidote to contempt is appreciation and respect in your relationship, and there's going to be a few ways to do that. One technique is small things often. If you regularly express appreciation, gratitude, affection, and respect for your partner, you're going to create this positive perspective in your relationship that acts as a buffer to negative feelings. Now listen, it is not a secret that I eat more than the average human being. My wife spends all her time in the kitchen. Poor cows. She's cooking them cows. And we're cooking a lot of steaks in my house. So if the only time you talk to your wife or your spouse is things you don't like, how about appreciation? I walk in the house is clean. Baby, wow, this house is great. And she's cooking like, oh man, all them 12 ribeyes, they all smell good. Baby, this is great. And the kids got the homework done. And baby, thank you so much. And oh, baby, you're so beautiful. You smell good. Well, thank you for the kiss. But I'm trying to be appreciated for everything. Why? Is it fake? No, I am. But just because you're thinking it doesn't mean you get credit for thinking it. You got to say it, man. So if you begin to appreciate the small things your spouse does, like I'll fix her. She'll give me her phone, like I can't get this phone. And I'll just fix the phone. She'll say, baby, what would I do without you? I just I don't know, girl. Like she can't fix her phone. But just little bitty things. Why? Because if I appreciate all the small things, I'm adding up and I'm creating a culture of appreciation, not, I can't. If I walk in the house, she has cooked my 19,000 meals. She's prepped all of them. She's done 2 kids with homeschool, did all the homework, cleaned the house, made dinner for everybody. She's like a short order cook. She got grandma something. She got me something, the kids something. And I'm going, hey, where's my whatchamacallit? I can't believe you forgot that. What I'm basically saying is everything you did does not matter at all because you didn't do this one thing. Y'all never do that, do you? No. So appreciation, create this positive thing. The more positive you feel, the less likely you are to feel or express contempt. Another technique is this magic ratio of 5 to 1. So try to find 5 positive things for every 1 negative thing you say. I'd rather be 50 to 1, but what is your ratio right now? So if you have 5 or more positive interactions for every 1 negative interaction, you are making regular deposits into your emotional bank account, which keeps your relationship in the green. So this contempt, you have to work on it together. You have to work on it together. Create this. You ever walk into some people's home? Now don't. I mean, if they're in the room, don't act like they are, okay? You ever walk into people's house and you can feel the tension? Everything looks right, but everything don't feel right. It's because everything is not right. See, y'all make me speak good English. I want to say everything ain't right. Y'all make me speak good English. I don't want y'all correcting my grammar with your condescending self. Don't be so contentious. I can say ain't. Why? Because you can feel it. I don't want us to have lives that everything looks good on the outside, but something's off. So, how do we create this? Start being appreciative. You know, I know it's not spiritual, and don't send me to hell right now, please. But I watched like the second time, because the first time I was like, this is the weirdest movie I've ever seen in my life. You ever see the Denzel Washington movie, the Eli, the one where he's got the only Bible left in the world? But there's one part in this movie, he's like, y'all know that. No. There's one part in the movie, he says, tell us about the world before the flash. He's like, well, we used to throw away things that people kill each other for now. And he says, we had so much, but didn't realize it. And I'm watching this weird movie, where if you see someone got the shakes, they're eating way too many human beings, you know. I'm watching this movie going, man, that sounds like a lot of marriages. We throw away things we would kill for. I would love to have a great relationship. I'd love to have a woman treat me like this. I'd love to have me. You got one. You got a man to treat you like that. You got a woman like that. But you're throwing away things that people would kill to have. I wish I'd had that type of marriage. It seems like we're never satisfied. We can never appreciate the small things. So when the whole time he was saying that, I'm like, man, that sounds like us in our relationships. So, what is contempt? Treating another person with disrespect or ridicule. Thinking the other has the lesser than. Hitting them where it hurts, you know. So how do you combat it? Identify and communicate what you value in the other person, even if you disagree. Attempt to understand and validate the other person's experience or perspective. I know we talked about this before, but validation is huge. We do this as men all the time. Our woman's like, Gabriel, we do this all the time, bro. It's like, oh, but baby, don't feel that way. As soon as we say that, we do as dudes. Hey, don't feel that way. Don't get so upset. Don't be so mad. What you're saying is, hey, the way you're feeling is wrong. Instead of saying, you know what, I can see where you'd be upset. I'd be upset too. You just validated your partner by saying, I can see how you get upset. I would probably be upset too. You just validate them, and now you can work on it. But as soon as you say, don't feel that way, what you're saying is the feelings you have are incorrect and they shouldn't be that way. We never do that, do we? Thank you. I'm going to leave y'all alone. I think y'all done. So, this eye-rolling sarcasm, name-calling, you're disgusting, you're dumb, what's wrong with you? Oh, that would be contempt, okay? The antidote is, I haven't thought of it that way, tell me more. What you're feeling makes sense. Thank you. So to validate the other person. When the other person feels that they're worthy of honor and respect, they're more eager to draw close, learn, and grow. So, as you stay with me, I'm going to give you some hope. We're done with the 4 horsemen. We're going to start talking about some ways to stay married instead of some ways to ruin a relationship. We'll start switching it up. I'm not going to ask. I don't want a response out loud. You know how church folks are. They're gossipy, you know. So. But out of the 4 horsemen, how about this? No, I'm not going to do that. If you recognize more than one of the 4 horsemen in your life, I want you to ask God to help you with one now. If you try to say, you're like, man, all the 4 horsemen, I have a stable for all of them in my house. They come and live in my backyard. Then work on the contempt first. The contempt will ruin your marriage quicker than all other 3. But if you only have 1 or 2, then try to fix one at a time, please. Or at least try to take the antidotes. The quick one is, hey, learn to complain, own what you can, disengage, re-engage. Yes. All that, however it sticks to your brain, that's fine. But I'm not good at multitasking. I don't really think any human being is, really. Science kind of shows that. But whatever, if you think you can do it, that's fine. But I always say, God, just give me one at a time, please. Because you tell me everything that's wrong in my life, I'd be so overwhelmed I wouldn't even want to try. So if more than one horseman is alive and well in your relationship, would you ask God to help you with one? I'm glad that these are going to be recorded because we're probably going to need to go back and revisit them. Because just when we think we got it, all of a sudden you can hear them. They come trotting right back into town. I promise you. As long as you're here on this earth, you're going to be fighting all 4 of them. Why? Because we're human beings. Pastor, do you fight some of these? Absolutely. I'm addicted to being right. I will argue my point and let everybody and their grandmother know I'm right. Is that right? No, that's not, but that's my fault. You have your own. I'm addicted to being right. So I take criticism as fighting words when I should be taking it as listening to my wife as a complaint. So if I had this all together and I was perfect in all of this, and you'd have to wait till I was perfect, you'd never hear me preach any of this. We're all working on this. What I'm saying is just because they show up once or twice doesn't mean your marriage is over, but if they're constant, they will. It's over. It's just a matter of time. We need to work on these things. So as Todd sings, can we find a place to pray and just ask God, if just one, help me, whatever that is, you pick it. You pick it and ask God to help you. God, help me in my defensiveness. God, help me on my criticism. God, help me with this silent treatment. God, help me. I do not want to show contempt to my spouse. Whatever that one is, would you ask God to help you with it? And as Todd sings, we're going to believe that God is going to start to help us move in our lives, in our marriage. What do you say, church? Can we pray?